ल आउनुहोस् सबैजना। आउनुहोस् है, आउनुहोस् सबैजना पर्ख्यौँ है। हामी अहिले गार्डन टम जाँदैछौँ। गार्डन टम चाहिँ धेरैले बुझ्नु भएको छैन भने बगैँचाको चिहान भन्छ नेपालीमा। बाइबलमा चाहिँ अनि येशू ख्रीष्टलाई गाडेको ठाउँ चाहिँ बगैँचा थियो। अनि जुन बगैँचामा चाहिँ एउटा चट्टान थियो, त्यो चट्टानमा चाहिँ खोपेर चाहिँ चिहान बनाइएको थियो। अनि त्यो चिहानमा नै येशू ख्रीष्टलाई राखिएको थियो भनेर लेखिएको छ। हजुर होइन, हामी भित्रै छ। र त त्यही ठाउँ जाँदैछौँ, त्यही ठाउँ त लाँदैछु। यहाँ लेखिरहेछ है गान हा कबर भनेर लेखिरहेछ। एकछिन पर्ख्यौँ है यहाँ फेरि सबै। यता तपाईँकै भित्र छिर्नुहोस् त, भित्र छिर्नुहोस्, पर्ख्यौँ। आउनुहोस् गार्डन टम, वेलकम।
थ्याङ्क यू।
हजुर यता आउनुहोस्, भित्र पस्नुहोस्। आउनुहोस् त सबैजना भित्र, भित्र आउनुहोस्, भित्र आउनुहोस्। वेलकम वेलकम वेलकम। आउनुहोस् है, ल आउनुहोस् सबैजना आउनुहोस्। नाउ वी आर इन गार्डन टम, बगैँचाको चिहान। येशू ख्रीष्टलाई मारिएको ठाउँमा चाहिँ एउटा गाडेको ठाउँमा एउटा बगैँचा थियो, जहाँ चाहिँ एउटा चट्टान थियो। चट्टानमा चाहिँ काटिएर होइन काटिएर त्यो बनाएको एउटा चिहान थियो भनेर लेखेको छ। त्यो चिहान हामी हेर्न जान्छौँ ल। पहिलोपल्ट हो यहाँ के तिमी? ल म जाउँ है त। हेलो सलो। Hi, I am Daulat. Milap.
Yes, how many people?
50 people.
From where, please?
From Nepal and India.
India, great.
Yeah.
So all speak English.
Yeah, all speak English. And please, more than 30 people they are Hindu. So please, if you tell meaning of the Christmas message,
Yes.
it is good.
Yeah. Okay.
Why we are celebrating
Yes.
Christmas?
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. So
Can
please.
you try? Okay. So, would you like to have a communion?
Yeah, we have.
Okay, fine. So, 1 second, we'll give you a guide. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
1 second.
First we'll go. आउनुहोस् सुरुतिम जाने अब। सिधा जानुहोस् त दाहिने लाग्छ ल। सुरुतिम जाने है अब सबै। नआए पनि जानुपर्छ।
Welcome. Hello, welcome.
हामी सुरुतिम जाने ल। हामी कहाँ जाने? जाने।
I sent to Yvonne maybe. Yvonne?
हेलो हेलो आउनुहोस् 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 हो।
पुरा जाडो भयो नि त मलाई थाहा थिएन त्यस्तो जाडो हुन्छ यहाँ भनेर। अन्त त
अब अर्कोपल्ट म
अर्को वर्ष
अहिले हामी गार्डन टमको एरियामा छौँ। हेर्नुहोस् त प्रभु छाउनको लागि प्रार्थना गर्नको लागि यहाँ ठाउँ छ। हाम्रो अहिले यहाँ रहेछ प्रभुजको लागि यहाँ ठाउँ राखिरहेको छ अर्डर गरेको थिएँ र यहाँ प्रभुजको लागि हामीलाई टाइम छुटिदिएको छ हामी यहाँ आउने चाहिँ अहिले प्रभुज लिनेछौँ यहाँ हामीलाई सबै मिलाइदिएको छ परमेश्वरलाई धन्यवाद होस् हरेक कुरोको समय छ र यसरी चाहिँ हामी यहाँ प्रार्थना गर्नेछौँ हेलो या अनि विश्वको मानिसहरू
And because she chose it to be the mother of Jesus. I can't imagine how that felt for Mary to find out she was going to be the mother of the Son of God. That must have been kind of a surprise, but what an honor, right? Because while we don't worship Mary, I think Mary had to be a very special lady for God to choose her. I don't know, some people say that she could have been as young as like 12 or 13 years old when that happened. Can you imagine being chosen to be the mother of the Savior when you're so young? And of course, you know, to be willing to say to God, I'm willing to do that. I remember being in Nazareth. Have you been to Nazareth? Yes. And so in the church there where they said was the place where the angel visited her. I remember being there a couple of years ago. And I'm not a very emotional person, but as I stood there and at that place, I started to just cry and I went, wow, what kind of faith did it take for Mary to say, I am willing, God, for you to use me any way you want. I am willing to be the mother of this baby because, you know, to find out you're pregnant and you don't have a husband, man, there's a lot of pressure from society to be put upon a person like that. In fact, the Bible said, you know, if you find out that somebody has committed adultery, you're to be stoned. Well, actually, she hadn't committed adultery, but how would anybody know that, right? No baby had ever been conceived the way Jesus was before. And so I just think of Mary and what a beautiful heart she had. And then for Joseph to listen to that vision that he was given and be told, take Mary as your wife. Go ahead, don't be afraid. And I love that it just says in the story that he obeyed God and did it right away. And that's just such a beautiful thing. And then, of course, along came that decree that they had to go to Bethlehem to sign up to be part of a census. And I'm sure that it must have been difficult for Mary when you're 9 months pregnant to be riding on a donkey or walking over bumpy roads here in Bethlehem and that to get to this place to be signed up. And then, of course, when they got there, we don't know if she had family in Bethlehem, that because she wasn't married, they didn't want her in their home, or whether it was just that because it was so a stable. Now, when you think of a stable, think of a cave, not a nice wooden stable, but a cave that usually people would keep their animals in. And then that night, that precious baby was born. And then isn't it amazing that God would come to shepherds and say, behold, don't be afraid. You know, I've got great news of great joy for you, for unto you this evening in the city of David. The Son has been born to you, and his name shall be Jesus, and he shall be your Savior. I can't imagine what those shepherds felt like or what they saw. The Bible doesn't actually ever say that the angels sang. It says that they said. But we like to think of it, right, as singing. Majestic singing has lit up the whole sky. Are you going to be in Bethlehem this evening? How fun. Just to think. You already did. So you know what you're kind of thinking of, those fields and stuff. And just to imagine those angels up there just bringing that announcement. And then that was just shepherds. And coming and finding the baby in a house and bringing their gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And I'm pretty sure that we always say it's three wise men, but we don't know. It could. I've got a feeling it was probably a pretty big group of camels and men that went through that desert to find that newborn king. And when they did, and they opened their gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And there again, they weren't looking at a baby in a really nice house. They weren't looking at a baby with a crown on its head. It was just a baby. And yet, because the star had brought them there and had been shining on the place where he was going to be, they knew who that baby was. And they weren't afraid to go in. These men, probably with their nice, beautiful robes and looking like kings, magi, got down on their knees and worshiped the newborn baby. And that's why we're here in Jerusalem, right? And this is why we want to just have our faith increase, because we want to worship that baby. But we just don't want to worship the baby because he didn't stay there. He grew up to be a man. He grew up to be know, as the Son of God, because that's who he was. I just can't imagine the humility it took for Jesus to say to God, okay, I'm willing to go down to planet Earth, to come as a baby, to grow up as a man, and then to die in the cross. Wow. That's an amazing God. No other God steps into our shoes, right? Other gods say, you look after me. Yeah, you do what I want. But our God says, what can I do for you? I know what you need. Because we had that problem, right? And it's called sin that separated us from God. And so we needed a way to get across that divide. And so it was through that precious baby that came that night, that grew to be a man, that proved who he was by the miracles that he did, by the teachings that he did. And he showed himself to me and he told everybody, like, I am God. I am one with God. So we've got the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. So I am the second person of the Trinity, the Holy Son of God, here because you need saving. Now, we all know that we're born in sin, and we all know that we do bad things. But remember, when we think about sin, we've got to remember that sin is something really serious, because in our society, we often think, oh, like what you want me to do, and I'm not going to do it your way. I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to do my thing. Don't tell me what to do. That's what sin is. It's rebellion against God. And that's why we so much needed that Savior. And so, because of that big divide, here's us with our sinfulness, and here's our holy God. How are we going to make that bridge? And it was through the death of that precious baby that now, when he was a man, on the cross, where he gave his life as a ransom for us. Do you understand the word ransom? It's like when somebody's kidnapped and you have to pay money to get them back. That's kind of what God did, but he paid it with the death of his own son. And then can you imagine that day in the afternoon how the whole sky went black. And then you heard that man crying from the cross, the Son of God, my God, why have you forsaken me? In other words, for the first time, the Father and the Son were separated from each other because the Holy God Father could not look on sin. And the Bible tells us in 2 Corinthians 5:21, he became sin, who knew no sin, that we might become the righteousness of God. In other words, he takes our sin all upon himself and trades it with his righteousness. We're real willing to receive everything that he gives us. The Bible tells us the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God